All right, hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of the Chance Podcast. This episode we are covering, I am covering, Customers. This was a very big film for me personally, as well as just Chance Productions as a whole. It was our first film over, I think before 13 minutes was our longest film, and this film was 23 minutes and a little bit. So, huge jump. First thing that you'll notice, if you've seen this film before, or if you're seeing it for the first time now, is there's a drop in quality in visual fidelity compared to our almost all of our other films, and that's because it was shot on a Canon PowerShot ELPH 110HS. I believe that's the complete model name. It's a point and shoot camera that came out in 2012. Has a half decent lens, tiny sensor, does 1080 at 23.976, no manual control, no nothing. And shooting on that was, I did it for a few different reasons. One, it allowed us to shoot in the Superstore without permission, without any hassle. I'm sure we could have gotten like our mirrorless in there or something like that because it's small enough, but this kind of ensured pure mobility and freedom of moving around. No one's going to question. It just looks like we're filming a small dinky student film, which it essentially is, except for the part that it wasn't for film school, but it just has that vibe, I think. Also, I wanted to shoot on this, I guess, low tier, quote unquote, of a camera to kind of prove to people that, hey, you don't need a crazy good camera to make a good film. I think this film's good. And it also allowed me to focus more on characters and acting and performances, because I was less focused on making sure I got focused, making sure I nailed the shot, lighting, etc., etc. This was also a Dogma 22 film. Dogma 22 is a, how do you put it? A set of guidelines for the type of movie that my friend Will Karsten and I created, inspired by Dogma 95. We just updated it a bit to be a little bit more modern, a little bit more accessible, and in our eyes, a little bit less pretentious. And it just meant that you just shoot. And if it turns out that the colors were a little bit weird or something, or the lighting was 100% perfect, you just leave it like that. So no color grading was done or anything. I mean, that's not a shock to anybody. If you see it, it looks pretty normal. But I think this camera did okay with colors. This is Sam Coyle, as I talked to on the last episode, because he's been in a lot of my films. This is Yana Maiko. It messed up her skin color, or her skin tone a bit. I don't know if that's just because what was behind her, what she was wearing or whatever, but I was able to color grade it for, I released a special edition that was in a different aspect ratio and slightly longer. Very simple, just add some magenta hues and it could totally fix the colors, but that was part of this, is just shooting it and showing people, hey, you don't need much. The audio was definitely something we still wanted to be good, so we had a Rode Video Micro running into a Zoom H1N. So at the very least, even though it was on a meh camera, again, I still think it looks fine. Like, I'd shoot another film on this camera, because I kind of like the look of it. It just has that kind of extra indie vibe. And I know that's kind of a lame way of putting it, and people say that a lot whenever they don't know what to call something that is slightly lower fidelity, but still looks fine and passable. Yeah, and then basically all I had was I got a little, I guess a bracket, for lack of a better term, that I was able to screw the camera on and then have the mic right next to it. So I was just holding this little bracket, and that was getting everything as if the mic was put on top of the camera. It just happened to be very high quality audio because it was a Zoom recorder. That was probably one of the biggest things for this film, at least when it comes to quality. The audio straight out of the camera was shockingly good. Not to the point of wanting to use it, but like, if all you had was this Canon PowerShot from 2012 and that's all you had, as long as you were inside and semi-close to the actors, man, you could get away with it for like a super low budget first time film sort of thing. Like, you totally could. Her kittens were, I forget their names already. She'll shoot me if she finds out. I didn't know they were gonna be this annoying, but it was really cute and kind of added to chaos going on inside of her character's head and just what's going on with her. And they start playing with the paintbrushes, and that kind of sends her over the edge. It worked out very well. The mic was actually slightly off screen, right about here, and the cats kept bumping it. So, again, since it was a Dogma thing, I didn't want to do too much editing. I think we just rolled with it. Maybe I had the audio fade in a little bit, but it wasn't much because, again, we wanted to just shoot it and leave it. Yeah, these there's a lot of phone call scenes in both Customers 1 and 2. And I can't even explain why I like them, because I think they can be very lazy. If you cut back and forth between two people on the phone, it can also look kind of annoying because it's disconnected. Sure, you see both people's reaction, and it's maybe in some ways objectively better, but I really like only seeing one side of it. I just think that's, I don't know, I just think it's really interesting. And in Customers 2, I guess I shouldn't talk about the sequel if this podcast episode is supposed to be this film, but Customers 2, you see one side of the conversation, and then later on you see the complete other side from start to finish. And that was something that I just thought was kind of cool, and I want to do that more in future films. But yeah, a lot of phone call dialogue. I'm happy with it. I think it's realistic. A lot of that is because of Yana and Sam, because they're just such good actors that they add in those little beats that, even though I would have wanted them anyways and would have told them to anyways, like, oh, maybe just pause a little bit here and pretend someone cut you off, they just got it. I actually quite like this shot. I think the lighting just works. It's super grainy, but again, that's not inherently a bad thing. The Mr. Noodles is now like borderline just like a staple, I guess, of the channel, because I carried it over to Customers 2. I love that little micro expression when he realizes he's had plans before and has now slipped on them. That was really good. He was also watching a film that I directed called Where To. This is me on the other side of the table, that's why it doesn't show me. But I'm also obsessed with only showing the characters that matter on screen, if that makes sense. So even though I'm in the scene, I hate how I act in it because I'm barely acting because I don't know how to act, but whatever, that's not the focus. The focus is Sam's character, Mark, and his thoughts, etc. I kind of get it from the First Lady and the Tramp, where for a lot of it, you don't even see the people, you just see their feet as the dogs run by. That concept I absolutely love, where you only keep focus on what really matters. It sounds lazy, but I do think it services a lot of stories. It's not necessary. There's no problem if it cut back to me and it was just, oh, this is a new character, but we stay on him, we see every ounce of his reactions, every ounce of his thought. I think that's the only way to get that, really, is holding on him for that long. A lot of yellows in this film. Yellows and purples, those are the main two colors. Also representative of the Customers 2 poster and artwork done for it. When I first thought of this film, immediately just colors yellow and purple just stuck in my head right away. So Sam's character Mark, at the start of the film he's in drab colors, but the more he talks with Delaney, the more brighter his colors get. By the end, they're essentially matching, not in exact colors, but in complementary colors. That was something I was kind of proud of. My friend Hannah Kobzar, she, I guess, was our costume supervisor, I'd say. Because I'd say, hey, how's this look? How's this? What are your thoughts? And then her, being a lot more fashionable than me, would say, maybe try this or throw in a dash of this. So that was very helpful. It's super small and it's mostly subconscious stuff, but I think it ties the characters together and it shows their development. I actually quite like that shot. And again, this is something that shooting on that cheap Canon power shot could do. This walk back all the way into the aisle. Of course, we could have got that on a lot of cameras, even like our current one handheld could pull that off. But even that pure flexibility, assuming the autofocus is going to be good enough and that the depth of field is going to be deep enough that, back here is in focus. This is borderline in focus. Like, it's not, but it's not f2.8 on a full frame camera, super blurry, which I prefer the look of, or at least I think I do. But when this is all in focus, I didn't question it. It just has a different feel where, I mean, like, I guess it makes it feel more like you're truly there and not looking through a cinematic lens, which, again, I like shooting wide open a lot of the times and getting a lot of bokeh and blurry backgrounds, but I've never disliked how this looks, minus some low fidelity stuff and some color inconsistencies, I guess. Yeah, it's just something that, again,
You sure they're not the same color?
I essentially learned about myself, where I was like, I do like how this looks in a lot of ways. A lot of ways that I prefer on a proper camera, but that's the point. Let's shoot on something lower quality and see if it matters. And then this did pretty well at some smaller online festivals. People really liked it, got a lot of praise for it. And it is probably my favorite film I've made, if not one of my favorite films at least.
Never got your name.
This one actually is always cute. I like this shot because I was punched in more. One nice thing about being on a
Mark.
small, not cheap because they were semi-expensive at the time, but small pocketable camera that has a zoom is you can go from 24mm to, I think it's like 110mm all on the spot. Yeah, it's not the best piece of glass ever, but having that pure flexibility of like, oh, let me just check this. And oh, I can zoom in. Okay, cool. The versatility is just really nice. And the more I talk about it, the more I want to do another film on this. I really do, because it was such a freeing experience. Again, they were punched in quite a bit. And I think the compression behind is nice. I'm glad that I didn't shoot like that the whole film. That shot I'm just very happy with. That lined up a little too well. And continuity, luckily, was able to hold true, because except for there, he's holding the cup up a little bit. That's one thing that I kind of beat myself up over, is here he holds the cup up, he's holding it up still, puts it down, and it's still there. Now it's a bit lower and then it gets away immediately, but little tidbit for you. Continuity's not perfect, and I think I knew that day of, but it was one of those like, we got the take, let's move on. Let's go get the rest. Yeah, that's like not even scripted stuff. Like, the you can buy me a coffee is scripted, but the little shake, the squint, that's not, that's just Yana. And she's great. This is one of the first scenes that I really conceptualized. This is a local coffee shop near my house, called Coffee Traders. Well, I guess not near my house, but in my town. And I remember getting coffee or hot chocolate, whatever it was, years ago. I don't really go to coffee shops much, but seeing that window and that table there, I was like, I need to film something there. And this was perfect, because, yeah, it's cute. Again, I hate to say it, but it has that indie vibe. It's chill. This is probably where the camera gets pushed the most, because the highlights on Yana's face get, like, completely destroyed. And even if I did color correct that, like, there's no data there. Tech people, film people would definitely point that out, as would I. Other people are just, I'm hoping 12 minutes in, they're at least semi-engrossed in the story and are just paying attention to the performances, not so much the lighting. Although I do like the perfect, like, split down the middle of their face. Even though it's objectively more dramatic than it needs to be, this should just, be full. Like, I should have just put a reflector on this side. Sorry, not should have, but normally maybe if this was like kind of more hallmarky, put a reflector here to balance out that light. But again, we were shooting on no lighting, no nothing, because we wanted to follow the rules of Dogma. But also I prefer the slightly dramatic lighting. Again, this camera doesn't do it justice, but that's also part of it. It's not meant to be this super dramatic scene. They're just on a date. One crazy thing is, so this is like a How long is this scene? It's pretty long. It starts here, runs to, yeah, so it's a decently long scene of mostly dialogue. And how I shot it was I would just shoot Yana's angle, run until someone messes up, and then they just go back a line and say it again or whatever. Did a couple takes of that, and then same with Sam. I think for both of theirs we just used like almost, they were almost able to run through the entire thing on the first take with basically no mess ups, which again makes the film look really good, and the performances feel cohesive, because a lot of these were just from all the same take. So there wasn't a subtle change of hair too much or a subtle change of, I don't know, the way someone's collars popped or whatnot. Yeah, it helped me out so much, and then it helped a lot in post production, obviously, because I was like, oh, I just, and I didn't do it this way, but it was essentially just like a live edit of back and forth in a conversation. It wasn't like, since it was two different takes with the same camera, it wasn't exactly like that, but it was very close to being that easy. And then it was just obviously a matter of cutting frames here and there just to get the reaction times exact. There's some pregnant pauses that I would maybe cut down on now, but that's just something I've learned even since making this film. I love those little interactions of people, I guess, finishing each other's sentences. That sounds so cliche, but people do it a lot. I do it a lot. I'm bad with it. Also, something I focused on quite a bit in this script is people repeating back what somebody just said to them. It can make a script sound a little bit clunky, and I hope I avoided that. But because we were going for pure realism, people do that a lot. If you say, "Oh, I'm just gonna go to Walmart," "Oh, you're going to Walmart?" "Yeah, I'm just gonna go to Walmart." Like, people just do that all the time. So I wanted to incorporate that at least a little bit in the script, and I think I pulled it off. All things considered, not a perfect film or anything. I'm not saying that. I'm just quite happy with it. The parts were also just allowed me to play around with focusing on one character at a time. I could have done that anyway, but I felt like the pacing, it's weird. Okay, actually, this is where the camera really struggled. You can tell this was just, this is, we just, okay, we walked into a movie theater. Let me get the lighting on. Say lighting on like it's gonna make the shot good. We walked into a movie theater that was playing Uncharted, and we didn't even buy a ticket because we just wanted a quick shot. So we just, as people were leaving the theater, just walked in. So in the background you can hear like the Uncharted soundtrack playing over the credits, which I just thought was really funny. But again, it works. The quality's horrible here because this camera was struggling to even see. I'm shocked it could see here. Like, this was just her phone on full brightness. But I didn't have anybody say, "Hey, that one shot in the movie theater took me out of the film," because it didn't matter. You can still make out what's happening. And that's more than half of the battle in a lot of ways. This shot I'm really, really happy with. Like, I was like, I'm really proud of this shot. It's so simple, but he's back here. This is in Sam's house, and there's a laundry machine down this way. And so he's just doing laundry, then he's going to come back, and then I think he goes over here, checks his phone, then goes in the washroom. So there's like 3 levels, almost 4 levels of layers, I guess. Yeah, there's 4 levels / layers, and I just love that in shots. And again, that's where the deep depth of field of a pretty slow lens benefited me quite a bit, where this is pretty much, like, I'm pretty sure this whole frame is in focus, or at least relatively in focus. I think this was just, yeah, this was just on like a Gorilla Pod on his like desk chair. And I just thought, like, again, it's so simple, but the fact that this is one of my favorite compositions I've been able to get, and it was done with quite literally under $100 a gear, aside from, I guess, like the zoom. It's actually, yeah, our sound recorder was our most expensive thing by like 3-fold, which I think is funny, but I think that's kind of how it should be, at least when you're starting off. I made that mistake for so long where I would just keep upgrading camera bodies and camera bodies. And it did benefit me because I went from super cheap camera body to something with 4K, stabilization, whatever. But it took me a while to be like, hold on. I've had to do so much audio work to fix my audio. What if I just got better audio gear? And even this film, just with the Rode Video Micro, which for the price is phenomenal, and a Zoom H1n, it has some of, not my best audio because since we were in a Superstore and there was music playing, that was annoying. But it does have genuinely what I think is some of my best sound, at least for pure dialogue, because it's just simple and clean. Again, I guess the film lends itself to that because of how simple it was. Like, where were we gonna have audio issues? It's all inside, which, boy, I don't like shooting outside. I live in Canada and it gets really cold and windy sometimes. It's pretty good in the summer, but I'm very happy that I'm pretty sure, yeah, all of this film was done inside, so never had to worry about too many factors. And I just thought that was I kind of spoiled myself there. It sounds lazy. I didn't even think about it when writing. It just happens like, yeah, this makes sense. They would mostly be inside. Lighting on this is where this camera looks the best. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, his skin tone's still a little bit off to my eyes, but the golden hour just really hit here to the point where I'm like, I don't even, like, I'm happy. Like, I'm fully happy with the shot. And not just like, happy because of, or happy despite it being a meh camera. No, I just think it's solid. I really wanted to use the mirror for a shot, but it didn't really work. I mean, like, again, the shots would have worked, but in context of the film, there would have been no need for it, and it would have been maybe like a little bit too artsy in the middle of a pretty naturalist, realist film. But you can see how a full body mirror could have had a lot of cool shots. I kind of regret not using it, but again, camera work wasn't the focus of this film at all. Hammer that point home. Now he's wearing yellow. Sorry, that's one detail that I'm very proud of, because one of my favorite films ever is Baby Driver, and colors and what the colors people are wearing is huge. Now she's wearing purple, he's looking at purple paint, they got yellow paint before. I think it all just works, even if you don't notice it consciously. I think it's important. And also it's just cute and nice, and it adds to the characters and stuff. And then in the sequel, the painting that she had finished has a yellow base and purple accents. It's not the same canvas, she didn't paint it. My friend Michaela did, but that's obviously the through line, at least with the visuals. And then very slow fade out. No music, because again, it's Dogma. It is just the film as it is. Yeah, that's Customers. Thank you for listening to episode 2 of the Chance podcast. There should be a few more up right now if you already listened to this. Wanted to release them in bulk before promoting this channel at all. Yeah, look forward to more films in the future. Go check out the actual film if you haven't already, link in the description, and the sequel, Customers 2. Thanks.
I just wanted to talk to you.
I hadn't actually considered that.
Or I would.
But seriously, like, you not working or anything, you don't really need it right now?
What? No. Of course I do.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're an artist, right? Like, professionally?